Hey everybody, going to be doing a little bit of a market recap and I guess an outlook for what I see possibly that could be happening. And again, this isn't something a prediction because like anything can happen in the market. So basically, what I see is obviously we can go up a little bit, or we can have a correction, a little bit of a pullback, or door number three, I think we could push up and then come back and pull back. I think you suck some people in. Have to see. I'm going to go over certain things I'm looking in the charts. I wrote a bunch of notes down, so we're going to go over that today, and hopefully you get some insight from it. If you can, subscribe, set an alert. Okay. If you do enjoy the content, it'd be much appreciated if you give me a thumbs up or a like. That help my channel out. Okay. Now, I will introduce myself. If you don't know already, my name is Steven Gonzalez. I use volume profile, market profile to find structure in this market. Okay, I use a bunch of stuff, also supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, and I also use the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. Okay, that all helps me find structure in this market, and that all leads me into how I look at the indexes, how I look at sectors, and how I look at stocks I like to swing and day trade. Okay, and I'm going to go over just certain things I'm seeing in this market. Okay, so let's head right over. I'm going to head right over to the SPY daily chart. Okay, and we're going to see here what is the SPY doing. All right, so we're keeping this uptrend, right? And I'm going to switch it over to some key levels here. Okay, so this is my express chart, right? So the orange is previous week's highs and lows. Okay, so what did the SPY do? It held the previous week's highs, right? Okay, we're definitely overextended. Okay, that doesn't mean you can't go higher. Okay, now you have above us this 458 level. You can see it's prior month's highs. The whites are prior months. Okay, orange is a prior weeks. All right, so that could we push up there? We could. Have to see, right? So that's what I see in the SPY. We're overextended. If we do push up, I see us getting resistance at 458, right? Or we could pull back to 451. Okay, that's what I'm seeing in the SPY. Now, as far as the Qs, let's look at those. Okay, they got a little uptrend, right? And let's look at last week's highs. What did we do? We held last week's highs. Okay, now we are at this year's highs. We already broke that. Okay, we already broke this year's highs. And again, okay, we could pull back. Either this wouldn't be much of a pullback to 387, or you got nice little support here at 384. If you get a bigger correction, 384 could happen, right? And that's what I'm seeing in the Qs. And right now, different picture in the Dow. Okay, bigger picture. Okay, look at the Dow. Dow's stronger, right? Had a stronger week. Why is that? That's healthcare and financials. Okay, that's helping the Dow out. Okay, so what did we do in the Dow? Pushed up, right to look to the left. You have, let's get these levels up here again. Apologize for that. You have, actually, I could have had this level right here. So right here in the daily chart, you can see there's a little resistance right here. That's where we got resistance 353. Okay, 354. That's called. So you do have this year's highs at 356, or you can get a nice pullback to around 351, 350. Okay, all these are overbought, but that doesn't really mean much. It just means that, okay, eventually you should probably get some correction eventually, right? Do I know when? No, right? Now, let's look at that IWM. All right, now the IWM, if you look at it, it recently just broke this downtrend here. All right, now it's kind of coiling, hit the 200 and the 100. That was resistance, and now kind of pulled back. All right, where did it pull back to? These whites, which is last month's highs. Okay, previous month's highs. So it's kind of holding previous month's highs, 177.20. Okay, got a little big downtrend that broke. Now you got a little uptrend that it's kind of coiling up, right? But you do have this 200 and 100 day resistance here. So it puts it in a little precarious position for the IWM. Okay, now the difference in there is it's coiling. How do I see it's coiling, right? And we'll get into this. We'll get into how I see it's coiling, right? Now I use this profile to the right is the month's profile. Okay, and what I try to look at is the most traded price of the IWM of the month. That's 178, right? These are weeks, previous weeks, right? So this is the most traded price of that week. It's the most traded price of that week, right? So you can see whenever they're all together, a big move is going to happen. Now that big move can happen down or it can be up. So this just tells me a big move is coming. Okay? A big move is coming in the IWM. Now you could have another week of balance. Okay? All right? That's all what's happening. Right now, in the big scope of things, you also have a large node here on the year profile. Now in futures, it's a little different. We're actually hovering right above the most traded price of the year in futures. The futures is different, right? So it's a little different. So we just got a lot of we got a lot of traffic overhead supply here. So it's really not easy to call here because you could hit right against this 200 and sell off again. Who knows? Okay, so that's just what's been going on in IWM. But this is how I see coiling markets. When the most traded price of 2 weeks in a row basically are in line with the month, you usually get a big breakout. Okay, and like I said, that could either be up or down. Okay, now the next thing I like to look at is the components of the market. Okay, and what I like to look at, okay, is right in this chart. The S&P 500, right, is made up of a bunch of sectors, right? Major sectors, right? We got technology, healthcare, financials, consumer discretionary, communications, industrial staples, energy, utilities, and materials, and real estate, right? So, but each one holds a certain weight in the S&P 500. All right, Infotech has 28.1% of the S&P 500. So that's got the largest weight, followed by healthcare, 13.1%, followed by financials, that's 12.8%, okay, and followed by consumer discretionary, that's 10.6%. All right, then that's the top four heavyweights. Then you got communications, industrial staples. These all follow down to these don't move the market as much. Okay, they just don't move the market as much. I try to look at the top four. All right. Don't get me wrong, I look at them all, but the top four, it's really which moves the S&P 500. Okay, so let's look at Infotech together. Okay, let's look at that together. And you'll get to see what I'm looking at. All right, so let me get that down here. And let's go to we'll go to that chart. Give me one sec. And we're going to look at the sectors. So, okay. Now here's XLK. All right. So, the largest sector of the market, right? XLK. Now, let me get this next chart up here. Wow. Give me one second here. That's going to change on me. Of course it would. All right. So, we'll go back to XLK. Boom. Okay. So you can see all-time highs in the XLK. Very overbought, right? But it's the largest sector, right? And what did it do? What did it do? It held, surprise. It follows the cues pretty closely. It held last week's highs, right? However, very overextended. Okay, who's in that? Leaders: Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia. Okay, so that's very important. Okay, now if you're looking at if this is coiling, right? Like I just showed you before with the profile in the IWM. So let's look at that profile here. It is actually coiling as well. Coiling as well. So you got 182.50, the most traded price of the month, and you're just coiling again, right? Big moves happening. Okay, big moves happening. Now, you have a lot of volume up here. This is kind of like a bullish imbalance, which means usually you're going to correct. You need excess at the top of a bell curve. Okay, so what I could see happening is a push up, and then you get the correction. You come through this. Now, this could either go either way, right? I don't know if we break down lower or we break higher. So XLK looks very strong, but definitely overbought, due for a correction. I don't know when it's going to happen, but this coiling is setting up for people to get hurt. Now, the reason why I say when you have the most shares traded here that week, most shares traded here, and then you have the most shares of the month traded here, all we're talking about is pain. That's all it is. And who's going to be in pain? So that means the most long and shorts are initiated here. So if you go down, you're going to hurt all the longs. If you go up, you're going to hurt all the shorts. That causes the breakout. Okay, so that's the first component. That's the first sector that we're looking at, right? So let's look at the next heavily weighted sector. That is healthcare. Now, healthcare has been weak. Okay, healthcare has been weak. So let's look at healthcare together. Okay, now healthcare was in a downtrend. It just broke it. Okay, this 129 level, this 129 level, 130 level finally was broken last week. All right, now if you want to see how I've been touting this volume profile to show you a breakout, this just shows it very easily. Okay, it shows it very easily. So check it out. Look at the chart on the healthcare. Most traded price of the week of this week. Most traded price of the week of this week was the most traded prices 128. You see what I mean? See how the most traded prices all line up? Boom, breakout. Breakout to the top, right? Now this has helped. This has helped the Dow. Okay, United Healthcare is the biggest holding in the Dow. All right, so you have some strength finally in healthcare. Now it hit, obviously, it hit, where did it hit? It hit the 100 and 200 day moving average. It actually closed above both of them. Now it's probably got a date with 132 up here. Okay, so that's some strength that had some weakness, broke the downtrend. Okay, so now you have healthcare a little overbought, coiling. You have, I'm sorry, XLK, coiling, a little overbought. Second largest sector, healthcare, broke a downtrend, broke out. Okay, now let's go to financials. You're going to see a similar story. Okay, you're going to find a similar story here. Look at healthcare. I'm sorry, financials. Financials. Look at the breakout. Okay, broke this long-term downtrend. Okay, gapped up right here, kept going. That definitely needs some type of correction, right? Could pull back to 35 here. Okay, so this just made a big move. Okay, health financials, that has been held back. That has been held back. So healthcare finally is getting some strength. Now you got financials getting some strength, right? So you have XLK overbought, healthcare broke out, financials broke out. Okay, now we're gonna look at the next heavily weighted sector, and that's discretionary. Okay, let's look at that together. Right here is discretionary. Now look, we broke a downtrend here. Okay, now we're coiling. Now I was interested in this play down here when we came up to these levels And I was itching to put some type of trade on here to get a, well, CPI came out and then that just gapped up. I didn't even get a chance. Okay, but now we're coiling again. Okay, coiling up again. 169's been resistance. Okay, so we closed below last week's highs. You can see that here. Closed the buns up, still above last month's highs. Okay, but above all moving averages. Okay, you have a good downtrend line up here, which could be resistant around 172. Okay, so I really like XLY. Okay, now in XLY, you break this, you got to see it hold this level to possibly go higher, or you might get this level act as resistance and you pull back to this up, just a little uptrend around 167, and that's your chance to go up here. I don't know what's going to happen. Now, if we look at the coiling, how I've been keep that theme of coiling, right? For looking for a breakout. So let's look at that. Look at the profile of XLY. This is primed for a breakout. Okay? 168 is the most traded price of the last month. You have 2 weeks in a row coiling at the same price. So either, like I said, either Tesla is going to break 169 and hold it and take off, or it's going to come down here to 166 or so, pull back. XLY is going to pull back, and even if you shake some people out, it could hold the previous month's highs and go higher, or it goes down and breaks lower. So I really, really, really like this XLY. Now, who's in XLY? Tesla, Amazon, Home Depot. Mainly Tesla and Amazon move XLY. So basically, the big proxy for Tesla. Tesla looks very similar to XLY. Okay, so really, really looking at that. Okay. Now, I just gave you the 4 heavyweights, right? So let's recap a little bit. So we have XLK, right? XLK, really quick recap here. 28% of the S&P. Overbought, right? We are coiling, but I'd be on watch. I'm not really interested in going long. Let's see if it pushes up to come back down. Okay. Then we got our healthcare that's broken out just recently and just hit the major moving averages. I expect it to take a little pause or move up to 132. Not expecting much, right? So you could get some rest. Okay. And then you got financials also broke out. I'm expecting a pullback to 35, right? Some rest. It needs some rest. It's probably tired, right? So, and then finally we got XLY. This consumer discretionary just coiling up, coiling up, coiling here. It's just setting up to break down or break up or break down. Which way is it gonna go? Is it gonna fake out, shake out some people here, then go higher? Really would like to get a pullback down here. I'm interested, or a breakout and a pullback here, hold this level, right? Because I think the market is due for some type of correction. So I don't know when though. Okay, so that's the heavyweights. All right, now let's look at semis because they're important, right? Because you have Nvidia, and let's look at that. Okay, let's look at that, and we'll go to semis. All right. So if you notice here in the semiconductors, big downtrend line, busted out, boom, big move. But here's the difference. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Now, all these other sectors pretty much held, except XLY. It held the previous week's highs. If you notice, semis made an all-time high, and then got some weakness, right? Closed below last week's highs. Okay, showed a little bit of weakness. Of course, Nvidia had earnings, and then people kind of it looks like they took profits. So that's really something to watch. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this, and why I bring it up, is if we look at this profile, it's coiling as well. 162 is the most traded price of the last month and the last couple weeks. Okay, so this is primed. Now, I'd be honest, this probably, I wouldn't be interested in much in the upside as I would the downside. So if this breaks this 160 level, okay, if this breaks it and holds it, this could definitely go down to 157, maybe even go down to 154. That could be the correction that this market is probably due for. Okay, so this is coiling again, just a crowded area of trading, right? Most longs, most shorts have initiated here, so somebody's going to feel pain. I don't know who it is, but we'll have to see. Okay, and then finally, so I'm kind of painting a picture, hopefully for everybody who's watching or who will watch because this is recorded. I'm just going to go into some stocks and then I'll wrap it up and what I see, and we'll go over certain things too. Okay, we're going to go over certain other things. So let's get into those. Let me get into those charts. Just give me a sec. We're going to start just with some, stocks you might not think I'm looking at. Let's see here. All right. Let me get the two because this chart's going to flip in a second. So give me a sec here while I put this together. All right. Okay. Let's look at Apple. Okay. Look at Apple. Downtrend, broke it, right? But here's the important part. Let's look at Apple. Now, let's see here. I'm going to put this to 0. Just give me a sec. Okay. Let's look at what it did. Now, 190 is a key level in Apple. Okay. It's a big positive gamma level, gamma exposure level. Okay. Now, here's the Apple. Big wick above. Okay. And look what Apple did. It closed below last week's highs, showing a little weakness, right? And this is XLK. Okay, showing a little weakness. It closed under 190. Okay, you have some support here at 188.66 about. Okay, now Apple could pull back here to 186 if it has some weakness. I don't know if it happens, but I'm just saying, look at Apple, right? Showing some weakness. Okay, 190 is a big level. Okay, now let's look at the profile. It's coiling. Okay, so it's very interesting. The we're getting very crowded here at the highs. Okay, so again, most traded price, what is it? 189, 190, right? All in agreement. People are exchanging the most shares there. So if that breaks, you don't have very good structure below. Okay, so again, I'm not interested in the long. Okay, could it go higher? Sure, could. But if it breaks and holds, you could make a nice pit stop to 182. That would be last month's highs. Okay, so see how the picture's coming together, right? So it's very interesting. Okay, now if we look at we go to the next big stock in the XLK. So this is the other big stock, right? Microsoft. Look what Microsoft did. Okay, let's look at how it looks. Made it all-time high, 379, all-time high. Okay, just like XLK. Double bottom here. It did hold last week's highs. Okay, so if we creep back into this, right, people could start taking profits, right? So let's look at the profile together. Very crowded, right? Big bullish imbalance, a lot of volume at the top of this profile. So I could see this getting a push up a nice push up, even a push up, right? Get people sucked in to the longs to come back down, and you go through this 369, 370 area. You could fall down to 362, okay? Possibly even down to at least the previous month's highs. I don't think we fall that low, okay? I don't think we fall that low. We probably go land around 361, but just overcrowded to the long side. And I wouldn't be surprised if it did a quick whip up high, make a wick, and then it just gets flushed, okay? But again, like I said, it can go higher. I'm not predicting. But if this does go high and come back through this area, it's going to be pretty nasty, okay, as a correction, okay? Now, what else do we have that I had of note? All right, so I talked about the semis. Now, let's just look at the biggest chip that we know of, and NVIDIA, right? It's going to look very like semiconductors, so let's look at that. Okay, let's look at that. So what do we have?
1 minute. Counting down.
We have NVIDIA, right? Now look at NVIDIA, okay? Here's last week's highs. We closed below last week's lows. We closed at last month's highs. So that's a nasty pullback, okay? 476, 477 is the levels to watch. Okay, that is the levels to watch. Now let's look at the profile. Okay, again, bullish imbalance in the profile. Now, look at this volume. The largest volume of the month, right there, selling volume. Okay, that's selling volume. Look at that volume. Okay, now, buyers tried, but then they failed. So look at this right here. That 476, 477 level is huge. If you break that and hold, like I said, can go down to 452, because NVIDIA has very poor structure. Look at this structure here. That's just up, 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 up. That's not two-way trade. That's one-way trade. Okay? That's poor structure. Now, you can get a fake out here. Okay, so if this whips and holds, well, then you can go the other way. Okay? But just really important. Okay? Really, really important. Now, as we're talking about that, we can also look at AMD, right? Another semiconductor, which didn't have that bad of a week. Okay, you can see the chart here. It kind of closed right at last week's highs, but it's at a very big level of resistance. Look to the left, right? This 122 level has been resistant multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Can it go higher? It can. It can, but I'm thinking it might need to pull back a little bit. I mean, look at that thing, just parabolic, right? Like other stocks in the NASDAQ. Okay, now we can also look at Tesla. Tesla's the XLY proxy I was kind of saying earlier. Okay, we can look at that together. So let's just look at that. Very interested in that. Okay, so let's look at that chart together. All right. So Tesla, okay, had a downtrend. This is secondary downtrend. It broke, pulled back to this level right here. I actually got long some options here, and it didn't go anywhere, really. Yeah, I made money on the bull put spread, and I made a little money on the bull call spread, but market moved really high, and then the Tesla just couldn't. It had this like 244 resistance here, okay, and it's battling the 50-day moving average. But anyway, remember XLY coiling up? Well, yeah, you guessed it. I mean, the 100-day moving average here is at 247. You have a big downtrend line. That resistance comes in at 252. Now, you're going to notice the coiling. All right, this is the theme. This is the theme. Okay, 235 is the most traded price of the last month. It also happens to be 235 is the most traded price of the last 2 weeks. Again, I don't know what's going to happen, but this is queuing up for a break out to the upside or the downside. I don't know which. Okay, I have a feeling if we get a correction, this is probably going to pull back to 226 again. And this little line right here is the monthly VWAP. It could hit this, fake out, shake out some longs from here, and then that could be the move to go higher. Okay. If anybody knows anything about balance rules, this is balance. Okay. This is balance. And balance rules are if you come down here and you do a look below and fail, if you fail to hold prices down here and you go across, usually you go across the range to here, and then if you break out, you go uh, um, the same amount. Let's see, this is 226 to 244. What is that? That is 18 bucks. You would go 18 bucks again up to the upside. That's kind of balance rules. So that's what I'm really waiting for. If this can shake people out here and hold it and the market does correct with Tesla, XLY is coiling as well, remember? So this could be the big move. Okay, this could be the big move. Right now, so you can see now why I am big into the coiling. Okay, big into all I want to see is, oh, look at that. Most traded price of these 2 weeks equals the most traded price of the month. All right, breakout's happening. Again, it doesn't tell me which way it's going to break out. It's just easy to see it. It's easy to see it. And I'm going to leave here with the last one that I like here is Roblox. All right, let's look at Roblox together. Now, Roblox is coiling as well. Okay, it is coiling as well. So, look at this. So, we gapped up. They had earnings. You moved up. All right, take some profit. Now, look, we're holding the 200-day moving average. Okay, holding previous week's lows. Okay, above all moving averages still. Okay, now let's look at the profile. What do we have here? It's not as pretty. Now you can see earnings here, big volume, big buying volume. That big volume buying had to cough up their position here. Then it held, went up again. That buying volume got broken right there. Boom. But now look, most traded price is what? 38. Let's say 37.80. And the most traded price of this past week and the previous week was also that price. So, if this breaks and holds 38, you can see us move up to 41. Okay. Now, it's coiling up. And now look, you have big selling volume right here that you can take out. But you have to hold this level. Now, I don't like that the market could pull back. Roblox could do its own thing. So, have to see. I just like the chart in the Roblox. All right. And the only other thing I'll leave you with, okay, the one more chart that I'll leave you with is, give me 1 second here while I pull it up. Let's do one more chart. Give me 1 sec. The one last chart. All right. Is going to be, drum roll here, Johnson & Johnson. Okay? So Johnson & Johnson, big downtrend, broken last week. Okay? What did it do? It closed above last week's highs. Okay? Now, it's at a key level, 152, 153, also the 50-day moving average, but it just broke this downtrend. You want to see it bust out of here, 153. Okay? You want to see it bust out, maybe even pull back to 153 to possibly make a move. Now, what else goes along with this? Healthcare. Healthcare just broke out. Okay, so the only thing about healthcare is it just hit the 100-day and 200-day moving average. So maybe you get a little pullback to 151 here and plays a little games, finally breaks out. You know, maybe the 50-day moving comes down here and it can cross it. I just have my eyes on Johnson & Johnson. I really like it. All right. And that's really it. I'm going to leave you with that. I hope um, that made sense for anybody who's going to watch this. This is what I'm just seeing as the market. So, overall, right, what I see this week is you got some overboughtness in some really heavy tech stocks. You got some weakness in a little bit of Apple and semis along with Nvidia. You have coiling and ready for a breakout, XLY and Tesla. Okay, healthcare finally got strong and financials finally got strong. So let's see if we're due for a little pullback. I feel we're due for some type of pullback. You could get a fake out Monday and Tuesday and then pull back the rest of the week. Okay, that's about it. I will do my normal video tomorrow morning. So again, hope everybody enjoyed this. Subscribe if you haven't already. Set an alert. If you enjoyed it, you can give me a thumbs up. That'd be much appreciated. And as always, you can follow me on X. That's at Gonzo719. And leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions. And everybody else who's new, is old, or whatever, I will be on at 8:10 tomorrow morning doing the regular pre-market scenarios and everything. So take it easy.